Hello, everyone. Roger Fredenberg here. Nice to be with you. How are things? Hope all is well with you. I mean, what a week. Oh, good Lord have mercy. I know people do not believe me when I say this, but I actually do try to be civilized. And I'm a street brawler. I'm that, kid that's always starting fist fights out on the playground or whatever. Don't mean to be that way. It's just how it turns out sometimes. You just kind of end up being who you are. But I have had some tests this week. Some incredible tests of my ability to keep my mouth shut and be a good boy. And it's not in my nature to do that. I admire people who can walk the line, who can maintain their positions and their opinions and not really offend the enemy to the point where they want to scream and yell and attack with a pitchfork. I'm not that guy. There are some great people. I hear folks, on the radio doing morning shows and stuff at local stations and things who do a great job of maintaining composure, putting out information that's relevant and important, holding the conservative lines, whatever. And they're not intentionally offending people. I'm not good at that. I want to grab people by the lapel, slap them across the face about 300,000 times, throw them in the dirt, step on their head. Now I don't do that, but that's how I feel sometimes. I have to control the rage. And talk radio has always been a great medium for me because I can express that rage and in a nonviolent way and put ideas out and hopefully, please God, knock on wood, on occasion communicate an idea to someone that will help them in their walk in this confusing, disgusting, freaked out world we're living in. Now, I have always been a hardcore moralist on the radio. And I'm aware that does offend a lot of people. It does. But I believe that morality, that basic decency, as formerly part of the Boy Scout credo, that moral kind of traditional American values base for all the other things you do in your life, I think that's important. The patriarchal God, family, country thing, I mean, we all know what it is. Most people could care less about it today in America, but I'm one of those Klingons. I'm clinging on to the past because it was a better place. The values, the morals, the decency, it was just a better place. And so I see things in the media, and I see things happening in the political arena, and I see how the media treats particular subjects, and I want to scream because I was taught growing up the deceptions and lies are not of God, but of the devil. That people who put up a facade, a fake screen, a lie, expecting others to believe it is truth, are propagandists for the devil. Adolf Hitler, Joseph Goebbels is examples of that in human form. Truly speaking for and acting on the whims of a satanic force, not a godly, patriarchal, Christian or Judeo-Christian values-based, biblically based value system. Now, our founders, whether you like it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, is irrelevant. The fact is, our founders, 52 of the 55 men who signed the Declaration of Independence, were active in their churches. Many of them were pastors. Many of our early founders warned that if we lost our virtue, if we lost the goodness in us, if we turned away from the religious foundations, the Christian or Judeo-Christian, the biblical foundations of America, 10 Commandments at all, if we turned away from that as a country, we were done. And when you see people who are in great suffering, and I'm going to talk about Bruce Jenner for a minute. when you see someone who is in great suffering, who is obviously emotionally and psychically and mentally and God knows physically disturbed, the motivation should be not to applaud the disturbance. We don't hold mental illness up as a virtue to be followed. I see this poor, sick person crying out for help, and there's nobody there to help. You know, I turn on the television occasionally to the religious channels because we're Christians. I like to watch some of the Christian channels. Locally, we have, where I live in Medford, we have KW, which is a great, awesome Christian channel. Thank you, Perry, and folks over there. We have, on cable, numerous Christian or faith-based or religious-based channels to watch. And there are some great, powerful, famous Christian leaders who talk the great talk. They're really good at asking for money, but they don't seem to walk the walk. And so I see this famous celebrity personality, a man who I grew up, with great admiration for because of his Olympic athletic achievements, Bruce Jenner. I see him crumbling and falling apart and disintegrating into this immoral abyss. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way I can get to this guy to help him. I'm just not, I don't have the gravitas. I don't have the celebrity status. I don't have the ability, but I want to. I want to go park myself on this guy's front lawn and get out the candles and start praying and chanting and trying to chase off the demonic forces that are screwing with this poor man's mind. And then it occurs to me, where are the celebrity pastors, the big TV evangelists? Why aren't they there helping this man overcome whatever it is that's driven him to this lunacy? And there are people out there who are saying, oh, no, it's okay to be transgendered, blah, blah, blah. It's a natural thing. It's okay. Well, it's not natural. It's not okay. I hear the man crying for help. I can see him. I listened to his interview. You don't have to have that deeply a discerning spirit to catch it. The poor guy is totally lost. He's lost. Speaking publicly for the first time since completing gender transition. What the hell is that? Gender transition. Try that one on the Founding Fathers, why don't you? Caitlyn, I don't want to call Bruce Jenner Caitlyn. Bruce Jenner compares his, not her, emotional 2-day photo shoot with Amy Leibovitz for the July cover of Vanity Fair to winning the gold medal for the decathlon in the 1976 Olympics. Are you kidding me? Bruce Jenner compares the decathlon championship of the 1976 Olympics as somehow being equal to going in and having what they say was 10 hours of facial feminization surgery. And then they're not worried about the poor, sick, mentally disturbed person underneath this new exterior created by the plastic surgeons from hell. But now they're worried about widow Brucey, Caitlyn, I guess, Brucey's self-esteem. I mean, the poor little baby had a panic attack. He was feeling really sad. Or they call her she, but I'm not going to do that. I want to know why the big celebrity, multi-bazillion-dollar, gazillionaire preachers aren't parked out in this guy's front lawn long before he got to this point, offering him some real counsel. Why was he not institutionalized to get some help for whatever kind of deep, dark, horrid, terrible scarring was going on in his soul, in his heart of hearts, in his in his inner person, why was nobody there for Bruce Jenner? And I don't know that there's an answer for that question, really, other than it's just all a big fraud. It's all a scam. All these people who want to, pick your pockets for the evangelical thrill of taking your money, I guess. None of these people could see and hear and tell that this poor, sick person needed help, and none of them rushed there with whatever amount of staff necessary to help wrestle this guy to the ground and get him in a room someplace and try to figure out what horrible, dark, terrible thing was bringing this about in his life. I mean, does nobody really care about what happened to Bruce Jenner? I mean, if you really care about what happened to Bruce Jenner, how could you just sit there? And I hear people say, well, you're filled with hate. You're a hate monger. You're an evil right-wing whack job because you're against all this sick, demented, perverted garbage in society. No, I care. I love people. I feel really, really, really bad for people who have reached the point of insecurity and mental failure or need or whatever it is. These poor people that have to suffer through that, and there's no one there to help. Does anybody care? Speaking about Bruce Jenner, I'm just not going to call Bruce a her or she, and I'm not going to call Bruce Caitlin, because I was a track and field guy growing up. I did the shot put and discus, and I hung with some people who were, pretty significant in the track and field world. I was not, by the way, but the people that I hung with were. And I had great love for Bruce Jenner. I mean, my God, what a hero this guy was to me. I was barely driving age, 16 years old, just completely enamored with sports and celebrity sports people and the Olympics, back before I was tainted by knowledge and truth, people. And to see this great athletic hero, this Olympic champion, this superb human being, this picture perfect physical form of humanity, fall to this fraud, this degeneracy, this sickness that permeates from within a morally vacant society that we're living in today. It made me cry. I'm not exaggerating that. I'm not making that up. Even now, just talking about what's happened to Bruce Jenner, I'm fighting back tears. I'm fighting back tears because this incredible human being has had to find himself in this situation where nobody cared enough to stop him and say no and help steer him back on the right track in his life. I'm sad because there are people in our society, in this civilization, who think that by trying to help him sort out his problems and resolve this rather than allowing him to move forward with it, somehow that would be a better choice, that he should move forward. Now, and I've predicted on the internet, and I'll just tell you here on the show, because I've done the studies, I've done the research on these aberrant behaviors. People think I'm fixated on it, and maybe I am, because I've been the victim of the attacks of some of these perverted people in my life growing up and beyond. And I'm telling you that I know they're not what they say they are most of the time. I cannot accept that the American people really and truly are in favor of deviant behaviors, sexual behaviors, celebrating mental illness. I mean, that's what these left-wing loonies, these politically correct whack jobs, these morally bereft sick, demented SOBs on this planet are doing is they're celebrating Bruce Jenner's rebellion against God. They are celebrating Bruce Jenner's rebellion against right and wrong, against tradition, against time-honored family values, against the patriarchal structure of the greatest country that ever existed on this planet, the United States of America, a country founded on Christian values. A country whose founding documents, in particular the Declaration of Independence that set us free from the monarchies of Europe, using the principles of the Holy Bible, the principles of a foundation of godly fact and patriarchy. People who celebrate a destruction, a walking away from, a backing away from, an erosion of those time-honored traditional Christian family values, those people have ideas flowing out of them that repulse me at a level beyond my ability to describe here with language that's legal for the radio. And I'll leave it at that. I'll let you use your imagination on that. All right, we'll be right back. I'm Roger Fredenberg. Hello, everyone. Roger Fredenberg here. Roger. Radio Roger at AOL.com. That's how we communicate around here, at Radio Roger on Twitter. Whew, wow. The Biden funeral. Joe Biden's son, Beau Biden, put to rest yesterday in a big Catholic mass funeral. And I don't want to put Catholics down. I don't shed any bad light on someone who's recently passed away, 46-year-old young fellow with a little children and stuff. I mean, you got to be careful of that. But I'm just curious how someone that can be totally and completely an advocate, I mean, a public advocate for the homosexual, transgender lifestyle, someone who's backed away from prosecuting some pretty disgusting abortion folks, even championed getting some abortionists out of jail. I'm just trying to figure out how that guy qualifies for a Christian burial. I don't know. I guess that even the churches today, they have no rules about that. I guess I grew up, people, church, pastors and churches and priests refused to do services. The Catholics used to excommunicate people. And I'm not trying to disparage the Biden family. I don't care one way or another about them, really. I mean, I pity them. I have empathy for them. I'm certainly wishing them peace and healing in their loss of their son, father, husband, whatever. But it just seems to me a little. I have a hard time. Maybe I'm just too legalistic. I have a hard time with people being made out and talked about as though they were these great pinnacles of moral living. I mean, the Obama eulogy of Beau Biden, you'd have thought Beau Biden was the most moral, upstanding, hardcore, family values Christian guy on earth. But if you really looked at him, he was really not that. I'm sure he was a fine man in his own right. In a secular way of looking at things, I'm sure he was a fine person. But from my Christian perspective, I'd say, well, and not to wish ill or harm or speak of the dead in a bad way, but he was not what they presented him as being. Maybe that's just the way it is when you die. I don't know. But I like I said, I don't mean to offend people. I know I do, but I hear these things and I see these things and I can't help but wonder what is going on out there. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that. I want to talk about this TPP trade agreement, Trans-Pacific Partnership, blah, blah, blah. Because I was on the radio and I was part of a very large effort to stop or at least to educate people about NAFTA, GATT, and the World Trade Organization. And so when I see secret, behind the scenes, little Brotherhood of the Bell handshakes going on in the back room. You ever see the movie Brotherhood of the Bell with Glenn Ford? Yeah, try to find that one. Anyway, when I see these little secret handshake deals going on behind the scenes, I have to ask myself, who's in charge and who's getting what out of this deal? And I want you to think about what the bill does. Here are some of the concessions that the Congress has to make, the people's representatives have to make for the TPP to work. He says, and we're talking about Jeff Sessions writing, these concessions include a power to write legislation, the power to amend legislation, the power to fully consider legislation on the floor, the power to keep and debate open until Senate cloture is invoked, and the constitutional requirement that treaties receive a 2/3 vote. Now, these are the things that Senator Sessions is saying, hey, this is what we have to give up? In order to go along with this, we have to go and hide in a room and read in secret this fast-track trade bill under the threat of, I guess, being shot or put in prison for treason or something. We can't tell anybody what's in it. And then it basically flushes the Constitution down the toilet, and people in Congress will vote for this. And you have to ask yourself a question. I mean, forget everything else. But just the one thing that you have to understand is that the Trans-Pacific Partnership throws out the constitutional requirement that treaties receive a 2/3 vote in the Senate. In other words, we're going to wipe our little patooties with your Constitution and give it the old flush 1, 2, 3. Now, I would challenge you to do the research on the detrimental effects that NAFTA has had on this country. Millions of jobs were completely eradicated. You're going to hear something. I'm going to go through Pat Tiberi, Congressman Pat Tiberi, had some interesting things to say about, on the House floor, just a very short piece. But I think that I want to use it to demonstrate a point here about the phoniness, the fraud that is being perpetrated on the American people with this trade agreement. It's really weird for me. For me to be on the side of some of the most liberal Democrats in Congress, Ron Wyden, oh my God, when did I ever agree with Ron Wyden on anything, right? But listen here to what Pat Tiberi says and the fact that he can barely say it. And let's see. I got to find this clip here. Hang on, let me find the clip. All right, there it is. Turn that off. Okay. Now we'll get to Pat Tiberi here. Okay.
Extend my remarks.
Without objection, gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize our American manufacturers as we work to knock down trade barriers abroad so American exporters can sell their products overseas. Many opponents of free trade are spreading outright lies. Lies that...
Now you listen, the guy can barely talk. When you lie, you know how when you lie, you get nervous and you stutter and you fumble? All right. NAFTA, GATT, and the World Trade Organization supposedly already did all of this. Why do we need another trade agreement when NAFTA, GATT, and the World Trade Organization opened up the markets of the world to American products? You see, it was all a big line of BS, which is exactly what this new program is.
Impact American trade agreements on American manufacturers. Whirlpool is a great example, an example that continues to be cited as an American company that's virtually shut down its plants in America because of trade. It's astounding because it's not true. There are 22,000 American Whirlpool workers. They're makers of iconic brands like Whirlpool, Maytag, and KitchenAid. More than 80% of Whirlpool products sold in the United States are made in the United States.
But all of the components, all of the electronics, all of the switches, all of the gears, all of the internal parts that make the washing machines and dryers and all the things that they make work are made in China. He overlooks that little part.
Their products come from Ohio communities like Clyde, Marion, Greenville, Ottawa, and Findlay, Ohio, not to mention Whirlpool plants in other states. Believe the numbers, 1 in every 5 jobs in Ohio depends on trade. With new trade agreements, barriers abroad will be removed, so Whirlpool and other manufacturers have the opportunity to sell their American-made products overseas.
All right, I want you to call Pat Tiberi or call your congressman or senator, and I want you to ask them what trade barriers will be knocked down from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and ask them if that doesn't happen, would they do the world a favor and jump off a tall bridge or something? Hello?
Let's spread the truth. Trade supports American jobs, and increased trade will build a healthier American economy. I yield back.
Gentlemen,
See, here's the problem with free trade, and this is why people just flatly don't understand it, and they don't want you to understand it. And the people who run this country, now pay attention very carefully to what I'm going to tell you right now, because this is the most important information you may ever get in your life as an American. The only country who has really radically benefited from free trade is China. Now, 42 cents of every dollar that America spends on all this big government BS is borrowed. More and more and more significant amounts of money through treasury bills and such are coming from China. You have had creditors harass you in your life, I'm sure. You know the power of someone who you owe money to. These trade partnerships will only benefit China. The United States of America is under the control of communist China. I mean, think about this for a minute. If China decided tomorrow not to invest in our worthless T-bills, the American economy would collapse. The government would fall into chaos. The entire welfare system, the entire entitlement system of this country would implode. And the America that you and I know would be gone literally in a nanosecond. Within 90 days, this country would be without just about everything that we've come to know and use and be happy to be part of in this modern age of technology. The country would literally collapse. Now, the people who put America in that kind of jeopardy, the people who put us in a debtor's prison, who now cause America to be beholden to the Chinese and to other foreign entities. If you think that those people do not have influence and have effective control over your government, then you're just not paying attention. You just don't understand how the world really works. We're in big trouble. Big trouble. I'll be right back. Roger Fredenberg here, Radio Roger at AOL.com. So I hope you're still listening, because I'm trying best as I can to enlighten you, because I don't know how much time I'll be given in this effort as the radio career thing going on much longer. I don't know. I mean, I'm saying things that people get really offended by, but I hope that you don't get angry with me. I'm just trying to tell you what's on my heart. You see, the Chinese are in charge of America. I remember when George W. Bush first became president, we had the AP-3 plane that was, pushed out of the sky by a fellow named Wong Wei. I mean, you couldn't make this up if you wrote the script for a comedy play, right? Saturday Night Live could not have done a better script than Wong Wei knocking our airplane out of the sky, okay? But those AP-3 surveillance aircraft are supposed to self-destruct. The people on those airplanes are supposed to reach over and pull a switch, and boom, it goes up in smoke. And they didn't do it. I have said since that time, because I know that Bernard Schwartz and Bill Clinton and all the cronies there from Ralph Hughes, put technology in the Chinese hands they shouldn't have had. The AP-3 plane, I believe, was a transfer of critical technology to China, but they can't just give it to China because the American people will go, hey, whoa, what the hell? We spent trillions of dollars to develop that stuff. How can you just give it to the enemy, you know? I mean, Americans are dumb, but they're not that dumb. I believe this Chinese hack is a similar event, that they are literally handing over to China information that China wants, information that our Chinese creditors / overlords have demanded. You see, they want to have access to things on the internet by hacking. The United States has the switch. We've talked about this before. I've said many, many times, if you don't want the terrorists to put up all their lunacy on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, shut them off of the internet. The United States has the power to reach out and turn off the IP addresses that flow into those terrorist countries, and it's over. We can do the same thing with China. There is no reason that the Chinese can hack into America's governmental systems unless the American government wants them to. Pay attention to what I'm saying to you. Refute me if you can. There is no possible way that any foreign body that's connected to the internet that the United States of America controls, no way that those people can break in, access, or hack any of our government servers unless we allow them to do it. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, this is a conspiracy from the White House down. This is the biggest conspiracy, fraud, scam perpetrated ever in history on the American people. To make you think that there's nothing, I mean, now they're going to create this whole new multi-bazillion-dollar program to stop the evil Chinese. It's all a ruse, it's a scam, it's a lie. Now, what you do with the information that I arm you with here is completely up to you. But you need to start asking your stupid, idiotic moron of a representative in Congress why he or she is not stopping this now. Why the switch is not being turned off to China. Somebody explain to me why, and then I'll answer it for you. Because we owe, and we owe more. Because we're not in charge of our own destiny, because our government is being running clandestinely from a foreign land by the Communist Party in Beijing, China. I believe it, and I think I've made a proper case for it here. You can laugh at me, you can scoff at me, you can shake your head, you can tell your friends, man, that Roger's a nut. But it won't change the reality. It won't change what I see happening. It won't change the facts. So make fun of me, berate me, ignore me, whatever. I don't really care. I tell the truth here, even if it hurts.